Hi everyone, welcome back to Premium Niger TV. My name remains Ebenezer Peyong, and we are back again with a wonderful sermon from our father, Apostle Michael Orokpo of Encounter Jesus Ministries. And this one is about worship. While he was talking about worship, he paused and talked about people that sing but don't worship and why they church. So this is one sermon that is prepared for you. This particular sermon is worth listening to. So listen to this, and after that, you tell us what you have to say about this beautiful sermon in the comments section. And meanwhile, the voltage is edited and presented to you by Premium Niger TV under Premium Niger Media.
The Bible said, and God said, let us make man in our own image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the fowls of the air, over the cattle, and over all the earth, and every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. So this is dominion in three spheres: the air, the waters, and the land. And in verse 28, God reiterated the emphasis. He said, and God blessed them and said, be fruitful. Verse 28 now. Multiply, replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the fowls of the air, and over every living thing that move or moveth upon the earth. So we have dominion to function in three stratas: the atmospheric realm, the water bodies, and the earth realm. But you see, because of the fall, spirits became part of the activities of human civilization. And so when Jesus came, he expanded the scope of dominion a bit further. And so Paul was teaching by the intelligence of the apostolic unction, began to reveal to us that the strata or the scope of dominion has been further enhanced. And so in Ephesians chapter 1 verse 20 and 21, and Ephesians chapter 2 verse 6, Paul revealed to us that the dominion mandate of man had extended from the visible realm into the invincible realm. So he was talking about the power and the authority by which Christ was raised from the dead. And he said when he was raised, he was set at the right hand of God in heavenly places. Now when Jesus was set at the right hand of God, he was set there as a man, because the Bible said even today we have an advocate with the Father. And he said the man Jesus Christ. It didn't say the God Jesus Christ. So he was set at the right hand of God in heavenly places. And in order to help us understand, Paul added new entities that comes under the dominion scope of man. Now if you read Genesis chapter 1 verse 26 and 28, God was talking about the bird, he was talking about the fowls, he was talking about the fish. Now Paul made us understand that where Christ has taken humanity to is not just over the visible realm or natural creations. If you see verse 21 of that scripture, Paul began to itemize the other entities that come under the dominion of the man Jesus Christ. Ephesians 1 verse 21, it says far above principalities and powers and might and dominion. Now these are authorities in the spirit, because in the spirit realm a dominion is also a personality. In the spirit realm, when you study the stratification of spiritual entities, you will find out that in the demonic realm there are demons. Demons are disembodied beings. They are spirits that no longer have bodies. This is why demons look for bodies to possess in order to find expression. So they are the lowest in the cadre of demonic ranking. Then you have, after demons, you now have what Paul calls principalities. The word principality means first in rank. So in the authorities of fallen angels, the first that goes into the business of kingdom are principalities, because principalities have the power to bargain territories. This is why in the ranking of fallen angels, they are the ones that proceed first. And if you study your Bible, you will discover that there are also principalities in light, because they were principalities in heaven before they fell. But now they are no longer on God's side. They are now on the side of Satan. So after demons, who are messenger spirits, you also have princes in the demonic realm. Now demons can be cast out, but principalities can be cast out. We wrestle not with flesh and blood. We wrestle against principalities, because principalities are not servant spirits. They are fallen angels. They are princes in the demonic realm. So if you move from the cadre of servant spirits, you now come to principalities. Then you have powers. Then you have rulers of the darkness of this world. Then you have spiritual wickedness in heavenly places. Among rulers and spiritual wickedness, some of them are dominions. Now when you study the Bible, one thing you discover is that a principality is a prince that does not have a territory. That's why he goes to bargain for territories. But when you find a dominion is a prince that possesses a territory. This is why when God created man and gave him the earth realm, he made him a dominion. Because when you become a dominion, you are not just a prince, you are a prince that has jurisdiction over territories. So Paul was telling us here that when Jesus was exalted, he was exalted above principalities, he was exalted above powers, he was exalted above dominions, and above every name that is named, not only in this world but in the world that is to come. This is where Christ as man is now seated. So this automatically makes man in the cadre of divinity an entity that ranks above princes. And in order to make you understand that this was not just a prerogative of Jesus, in Ephesians 2 verse 6, Paul now added something. He said, you and I are seated with Christ, where he is now seated far above principalities, far above powers, far above rulers. So any being under heaven that is not a man, and any creature under heaven that is not a man, we have authority in God to enforce God's will wherever they are. So you need to understand that the dominion mandate is first in the visible realm, then it proceeds from the visible realm to the invincible realm, as touching the second heavens. The subject we have come here to study is the subject that gives us intelligence on how to master the operations of this realm, so that we can bring God's will anywhere we find ourselves. So we have been created as beings of dominion, first over the visible realm. But one of the fallen princes deceived man, he fell, so that prince began to exercise authority over him. When Jesus came, it was no longer enough to take man back to where he was. Jesus took man beyond where he was to another realm, where he will now be above even the prince that deceived him first. This is why now we can wrestle against principalities, we can wrestle against powers, we can wrestle against spiritual wickedness, even the ones in heavenly places. You ask yourself, why is this so important? I tell you why. There are three basic reasons why you and I exist. Number one is to know God. Jesus was speaking in John 17 verse 3. He said, this is life eternal. He said that you may know him, the only true God, and Jesus Christ whom he has sent. So we are here to know God. And knowing God is not to know about God. It's one thing to know about a person, it's another thing to know the person. We are not here to know about God, we are here to know God. The word know God in John 17:3 is the word ginosko. It means to experience God, and to experience God to a level where something is produced out of your life. The same way a man and a woman know themselves and a child comes forth. So everything God wants to produce in this realm, he wants it to come out from your intercourse with him, so that you become a procreator with God. So the reason we are here is to experience God, to know God until our lives becomes consequential, and consequential in that something comes out of us. So in case you are in this conference and nothing has come out of you to arrest the attention of your generation, I prophesy over you, as you finish this conference, something will be born from your intimacy with God. The second reason we are here is to worship God. Please write these things down. The Bible said a man's life does not constitute in the multitude of his possession. Some of us make the mistake of thinking life is about the cars we have, the lands we have, the houses we build. We think life is about the money we have in the bank. All of those things you will leave behind. When you cross over from earth to eternity, if that's all you have, you will discover that forever and ever your existence will be inconsequential. Life is deeper than material things. The second thing that defines the quality of your life is the depth of your worship of God. We were brought here first to know God, and then we were brought here secondly to worship God. And worship is not a song. Make no mistake about it. You can worship through singing. Worship is a state of adoration, a state of submission in adoration to the government of God, and that submission causes the fragrance of your glory to flow back to God. So when we are talking about worship, we are talking about a deep-seated adoration in your heart for God. You can be worshiping God crying. That tears is not tears. That tears is adoration from your spirit to God. You can worship God just by lying down. That lying down is not because you are tired. It's you submitting the totality of your being, your glory, your influence, your honor. You are submitting it to God, acknowledging that no matter how glorious you are nothing compared to him. That's what the elders were doing in the throne room. They had thrones, they had crowns, but the moment God appeared, they knew it was an error for them to wear their crown. They knew it was an error for them to sit on their thrones. Although they had thrones, although they had crowns, but you don't sit on a throne where the King of Kings is. You don't wear a crown where the King of Kings is. So they cast their crowns, they fell on their faces, and they submitted to him. That is worship. So when we say somebody is worshiping God, we are talking about two things. Number one, adoration in your heart for God, because you have known him to be the special one. You have known him to be the glorious one. You have known him to be the matchless one. And on account of that, the only thing that flows from your spirit is adoration. You can ventilate that adoration through a song. You can ventilate that adoration through prayer. You can ventilate that adoration by lying down. You can ventilate that adoration by crying. But that adoration itself is your worship before God. There are people who sing who don't worship. And that's why they ask for money to sing. They are hirelings. They are not worshipers. We acknowledge that they have a gift. We acknowledge that they have a good voice. But we know they are not worshipers. Because the moment you have to pay them for them to adore their God, it means they don't have a revelation of him. Those who are worshipers, it's a privilege for them to say, holy is the Lord. And any opportunity they have to do that, they will do it. I'm not against honoring them, but honor will be a reciprocation of gratitude for whoever gave the platform. But they will never, you can't put money on thanking the one who made you. You can't put a cost on appreciating the one who created you. If there's no adoration in your spirit, you are not a worshiper. So when we talk about worship, number one, we are talking adoration. When we talk about worship, number two, we are talking submitting our will for his own will. When Jesus was in Gethsemane, that was when the loudest worship was heard on earth. Father, if it were possible, let this cup pass me by, yet not my will but thine. That's when we heard the purest form of worship. I don't want to die, but if this is what you want, I'm willing to substitute my will for yours. That's why the first time the word worship was used in scripture was in Genesis 22 verse 5. Abraham was going to sacrifice Isaac. Nobody was singing there. There were no drums there. There were no guitars there. A man who loved a child that he trusted God for 25 years, God demands for that child. In tears, he went to sacrifice that child. If it's your will, I will do it. That's worship. If you find a generation who don't worship God, their existence is useless. In John 4:23 and 24, Jesus told us that there were a particular type of people God is looking for. He said they are those who will worship him in spirit and in truth. And in Revelation 4:11, the Bible tells us that we were created for his pleasure. So the second thing that necessitates our existence is worship. So a man's existence becomes important to the degree that he begins to worship God, either in the depth of adoration or in the quality of loyalty and submission to the desires of God. The third reason for our existence is to serve the purposes of God. And when we talk about serving the purposes of God, we are talking about thy kingdom come agenda. Matthew 6 verse 10. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. If you are on this planet and you are not part of those who are establishing God's will anywhere you find yourself, no matter what you are called, they can call you president, they can call you senator, they can call you ambassador, they can call you bishop, they can call you prophet, they can call you apostle. Your existence is useless. We are here to enforce the will of God on this planet so that the earth can become a mirror image of the heavens. When he created Adam and put him in the garden, Genesis 2 from verse 14 to 15, the Bible said he kept him there to dress it and to keep it. This is where priesthood and kingship comes in. In priesthood, we don't just worship. In priesthood, we legislate and litigate. So we Kadosh, Kadosh, you are mighty on your throne. Break forth, O fountains of the deep, cry out, Kadosh, you are mighty on your throne. You reign, you reign, you reign, you reign, Kadosh, you are mighty on your throne. The moment God created the earth and he wanted his agenda to be facilitated, the Bible said God blessed them and said, be fruitful, multiply, replenish, subdue, have dominion. Without dominion, you may wish God's agenda, it won't come to pass. We don't wish God's agenda. See, you know the problem with us? We are sitting in our room and wishing that God's will be done in Kenya. God's will not be done in Kenya by wishing it. For God's will to be done in Kenya, men of power must rise. Carriers of dominion in government, in the economy, in church, in the academia, they must rise. We don't wish God's will, we enforce God's will. That's why dominion is important. I don't know who is hearing me here tonight, but before you walk out of this place, you will catch a scepter in the spirit. Some of you have been crying for God's will to be done in your family. 7 persons have died. You don't cry God's will to be done, you enforce God's will. Some of you have been begging for God's will to be done in your life. Men have messed you up, yet God's will has not been done. It takes power for God's will to be done. Even the disciples of Jesus, when he wanted to leave them, he said, don't go out with lecture notes. I know you sat in my class, but it's not enough to carry information. He said, tarry until you are endued with power from on high. If power comes, a fisherman can take the word. We are talking dominion. We are talking the power to establish divine government on the earth. And I beg you, make up your mind to possess it. This is not about ambition. You know, when we discuss the subject of power, people think, oh, we have been ambitious. No. We have understood that it takes knowing God for your life to count. We have understood that it takes worshiping God for your life to count. And we have understood that it takes advancing God's agenda for your life to count. And we have also come to understand that you can't advance God's agenda without power. Do you know the level of accuracy and precision that the disciples of Jesus, who did not only hear him but watch him demonstrate power, will have? But he said that's not enough. Don't go tell people you were with me. The proof that you were with me is that power will come on your life. He said when that power comes, you can create change. This is what dominion is all about. And I want to take time. Oh my God. I will define the subject first. You know, my spirit is charged, but I need to establish some foundations. Particularly from Africa, a new species must rise. You know, the world thinks if your skin is black, you are not important. They call you a consumer generation. The world thinks if your skin is black, you are a second-class human being. A generation needs to rise that needs to redefine the concept of human existence. A generation needs to rise that needs to redefine the concept of civilization. A generation needs to rise that needs to redefine the concept of value. To speak of Barak, to speak of Jephthah, to speak of Samuel, of David and of the prophet. He said, who through faith subdued kingdoms, obtained righteousness. They said they shut the mouth of lions. They quenched the violence of fire. They said weak men were made valiant in battle, and they put to flight the armies of the alien. See, a time comes when even your face doesn't count. Your name would have produced certain results that when it's mentioned, even if you are not around, your testimony can open doors. That even after you are gone, many generations after you, your name can be called a blessing. That's why I said the memory of the righteous is blessed. But that can't happen until you come into dominion. Let's define dominion very quickly before we proceed. What is dominion? There are 5 ways I define dominion. Number 1, dominion is the authority to exercise governance and rulership. When a man has dominion, number 1, there is a jurisdiction that is put under his control, and he has the authority to establish governance and rulership. That means that man can call for order within that jurisdiction, and no matter the opposition, order will be established. When you get to that level, know that dominion has come upon your life. Dominion is a business of authority, but it's not just authority in itself. It's authority for governance and authority for rulership. That's why when God created the earth, he needed to give man dominion, because if man is not given dominion, earth will come under chaos. I need somebody who can establish order on the face of the earth. I have created you with that one, but creating you alone is not enough. You need dominion to be able to do it. So when a man has dominion, you define a context through the character of that man, because who he is becomes what is superimposed over that system. He has the power to enforce order there. So everything that makes him becomes the definition of that place. This is why before God gave man dominion, he created man in his own image, so that the order man will bring will be consistent with God's character, because the man now carries God's image and God's character. The moment the man traded that authority, earth took another bearing. Sin came, evil came, destruction came. That means the order God wanted to establish could no longer be established, because the one he gave the dominion lost it. And the moment the dominion entered the hands of Satan, the character of Satan defined the context. So dominion is authority. But this authority is not what gives you or makes you a figurehead. This authority is authority to establish order and governance. And when God raised sons who have dominion, they will bring deliverance to the earth realm again. In Romans 8 verse 19, the Bible said the earnest expectation of the creation. Does it not shock you that he didn't wait for the manifestation of God? Because God is not the one that has authority over earth. The heavens belong to God. He said, but the earth he has given to the sons of men. So even earth has intelligence to know that the one who has dominion is the one that can help it. God is sovereign. God is almighty. But God has delegated the authority over earth to man. So the earth is not waiting for the manifestation of God. The earth is waiting for the manifestation of the sons of God. So when God gave you dominion, God made you a quality control agent to establish order. See, we don't know these things. That's why we think Christianity is about church attendance. The market is in disorder. The government is in disorder. The academia is in disorder. The media is in disorder. We come to church, we sing and pray, but we don't know it's our responsibility to change it. Because we have been taught religion, we have not been given kingdom. The moment kingdom comes, when we gather in church, church will no longer be about membership. It will become about citizenship. It will become about constituency. The word ecclesia does not mean a gathering of members. Ecclesia is a gathering of called out ones. The same way you have the Senate, where every senator represents a state. In my country, we have 109 senators representing 36 states. Each state has 3 senators. So when you see a senator, you count 1, you are wrong. When you see a senator, when you count 1, that's 7 local governments. When you count 3, that's a state. So when you come into the assembly of senators, number is not the issue. Number is good, because the glory of the king is in the multitude of the people. But the excellency of the Senate is not the number, it's what they represent. See, when we come to church, there should be those who control the market. There should be those who control government. There should be those who control the academia. If we don't get there, we have not started church. The Ecclesia is God's Senate chamber, where he called us out, empowers us to take over the world. This is why he gave you dominion. So if you came to church, even if you think a service is a blessing, if you go back on Monday and you can't change anything, you were not blessed. You were only excited.
Hi brothers and sisters, so what do you have to say about this wonderful sermon? Please drop it in the comments section, and don't forget to subscribe to Premium Niger TV.